Hi, my name is Jamie Coco from Empowered Social Media. I'm going to teach you how to use Instagram today to grow your business. All right. So this is me. This is me from Greenfield Community College. A bunch of different events. Story of me as an entrepreneur or social media person working for 50/50 Fitness Nutrition for 5 years, working in a local business, Applied Mortgage, graduating from GCC after taking 10 years off. I used to be in the restaurant world before this. Yeah, and helping local entrepreneurs. With Instagram and all social media platforms is about connecting with your audience. That's the most important thing. So we're talking about why Instagram, Instagram algorithm, optimized page settings, Instagram page branding, organic growth strategies, brand cycles, funnel, and timing. Got to why Instagram. It's one of the fastest growing platforms right now. Has better organic reach than most. So a platform like Facebook has really not great organic reach. Organic reach means, say, organic versus paid. So organic is the reaching of people that you can do without having to pay money for it. So if you post something on a Facebook page, you're going to only reach the people you have as your followers, the people who like your page. Now with Instagram, you can get beyond that. You can do that through hashtags and location and some other things we'll discuss in a little bit. So it is a visual-driven platform. So the person, and I have lots of clients like this, who do not like writing. They do not like doing copywriting. And this is a great short-form writing platform because it's more visual-driven for people. The words are just a caption on what the image is. It connects easily with Facebook, and then you also get added bonus of a couple other platforms with Instagram, which is IGTV, Stories, and then Reels. It's pretty new right now. So algorithm, let's discuss. And we're going to start off kind of basic, and then we're going to derive through that basic to intermediate and maybe beyond. So Instagram algorithm. So this is an Instagram post, what it looks like. If you're a business account, then you'll be able to see this side of it, which actually gives you post analytics. If you are not, you're not going to be able to see this. But it's pretty easy to be able to switch over in your settings to do that. So this is the creative. So it's the image, the short video, using some of the native tools that they have. Native means like in-app itself tools like Boomerang to create. You're creative. So repetitive. Copywriting is what you write. And for copywriting, you have 125 characters before you hit this more button. We'll discuss that a little bit more later. Location, it's important. The engagement toolbar, that's someone who could love it, they could comment on it, they could share it, or they could save it for later. And you have the more options. So this happens like, let's say that you make a mistake on a post. It happens. We all make mistakes. We have little typos and then we recognize it. And then we're like, how do we edit it? This is how. We click that 3 dots and then we're gonna hit that edit button and then we'll fix whatever we got wrong. Yep, that more, 125 characters. So that 125 character rules isn't set in stone rule. So what it means is about 125 characters, but it's going to try to cut it off at a part that's important. So it's not going to cut it off in the middle of the word this. It's going to cut it right at the end of this. So maybe 126 characters or 129 characters there and there. All right, Insights button, you click that. Again, only if you have business or a creator account. So inside that, we're going to see our reach, how many people we reached. We're going to see how many people commented. We're going to see how many people shared it, how many saves, how many profile visits. And then we also see how many people hearted it or liked it. Now, there's 2 that are the most important things. And you can think about it for a second. What do you think is most important? Is it reach? This is to Instagram. Is it comments? Is it shares? Is it saves? Is it profile visits? What's the most important thing to Instagram? It's shares and saves. Shares and saves show that it is really meaningful content. Meaningful enough that you're going to save it for later so you can reference it again, or you're going to share that content because you think that it's important, that other people see that content that you saw to get maybe the same thing out of it that you did. So those are the top two. Not saying that comments aren't important, because they are important. It's that Instagram views these two as the most important. So hashtags optimize. I'm going to throw this at you really quickly. You're going to panic, and then we're going to talk through it so you can live the rest of your life normally. So 30 hashtags right in here is the optimal number of hashtags in each one of your Instagram posts. So this is that, like, oh my God, Jamie, really? How am I supposed to do 30 hashtags? I gotta type in every single time. That's gonna take me too much time. I don't have enough time in my day, Jamie. So what I'm telling you to do is create 22 to 25 core hashtags. So they're the hashtags that you use every time. Now, you could use them seasonally. So marketing could be one that you're using seasonally. Business owner could be one you're using seasonally, or you could use seasons seasonally. So if you're a photographer, you might say fall foliage photography, or photography in the fall. You might be using those seasonal hashtags as part of your 22 to 25 core hashtags. You can see for me, marketing tips, online marketing tips, those are part of my core hashtags. So how do you fill in the other 5 to 8 hashtags? You could use creative specific hashtags like Instagram tips, Insta tips, or over here, Pinterest marketing would be great because I'm talking about Pinterest and what we learned by marketing on Pinterest so far. So a good point that's always brought up in here, and I didn't include this in my slideshow, but you can save these. So that's 22 to 25 core hashtags. You want to save those core hashtags. So if you're doing stuff on desktop because you're using a program like Creator Studio, or using a third-party tool to schedule all of your posts, then you could have it in a Word doc where you're just copying and pasting it over. If you're using it on your phone, and I know specifically for iPhone, there's a text replacement function that you can use. So you can go into your settings, your general settings, you can go into keyboards, you can go to text replacement, and then you can drop in those 25 core hashtags, and then you can create a phrase, something that you're not using all the time, like penguin is a good one to use. So I don't use penguins a lot. You can put a penguin in there, so every time when you want to pull up those hashtags, you type in penguin. And then you're going to notice that whenever you're typing, this is on an iPhone, and I'm assuming this is on an Android too, that's what other people have told me, is that there's like replacements. So if you start typing in something, it's going to try to fill out that word for you quickly so you can just hit that button. Well, this is what happens with the shortcut we're using, is that you type in penguin, and in the middle of that replacement, the 3 replacements, it's going to populate. Where your hashtags are, you click that middle one, it's going to drop them for you. That's a quick lesson on how to use core hashtags. So let's look about your Instagram page and how to optimize your Instagram page. All right, so this is for the image up here, and of course I have a typo in here. It's at 110 by 110, ideal size for a mobile, or 180 by 180 on desktop. For here, I'm gonna change for your image. In there. So the profile picture we just talked about with the image size, you want to have that be a logo, a team picture, or a branded image. So logo can be difficult if you're a college and you have many, many, many different departments and your department doesn't have a specific logo for it. That would be difficult because you can't just use a general GCC, which is the example I'm using, Greenfield Community College, GCC logo. In here, you would have to use something else, like a team picture or a branded image with your colors in it. For me, this is the picture that I used at the very beginning of Empowered Social Media almost 2 years ago. This is of me and my wife and we're doing a little arm wrestling contest at a wedding shower we had. All right, down here is the URL. So when you're using a URL, you can use a web page. So if you have a general web page you want to send people, you could do that. If you have a unique landing page, let's say that you have an event that's going on and you want to drive people to that event, you can use the unique landing page for that event. Or maybe a campaign. So let's say that you're selling a product or selling a service and you're trying to drive people to purchase that in a certain campaign window. Then you would put that campaign landing page right in there as well. So these are some of the options that you'd want to put into that. And this changes. So it's not like it's always the same thing all the time. You'd want to change that specifically to match where you're at in your cycles, branding cycles. In your bio, you have 150 characters. A lot of key brands, they break it up with emojis. So they make it a little more visually appealing. It's just easier to read instead of all text in here. And they use keywords. So SMM, which is social media marketing, SSM. And then ads management, CRM, digital media. And then local social media, holistic marketing expert. So I'm using keywords all throughout this. So let's move to page branding. So speaking of keywords, I'm going to use that in my name as well. So my username is Empowered Social Media Co. But since right now Empowered Social Media isn't a hugely recognizable name yet, maybe someday it will be in the future. But since I want to be more indexable, I'm going to say the social media experts in here, because social media, I could have used that with Empowered anyways, which would have been good, but social media expert. So if someone looks up social media expert, because they're looking for a social media expert, boom, this makes my page more indexable for that person to find. Grid and colors. So this is the grid scheme that I use is every third. So I'll have one. See if I break this down. Yes. So branded color background. So we have an orange back here. So we have orange for these three. Then you can see like a transition phase from doing some of it before to really doing it in here. And you can start to see some of that color, how it pops a little bit differently. Makes it a little bit more engaging and looks youthful to me as well. So I got the orange back in here. And then we have accent colors. So you have your brand back, you have your brand accent color in the front. And then you have a separate one. So we have two different brand backs, two different accent colors, and then we have a regular background. So this isn't a brand back color background, this is a regular image with a background. Then we have a brand color behind lettering. And also logo. Whenever you can put your logo in there for branding, that's great, but don't make it so big that it takes away from the image itself. So organic growth strategies. Let's get into it. Should add sound effects for this. That would be amazing. So use your stories. A lot of the entrepreneurs I talk to have a panic moment, right? First, when I tell them how many hashtags, and the second panic moment is when I tell them they need to use Instagram stories, because that freaks them out. We're going to break it down a little bit further and talk about the tools that you should use and how you can build off of that as we progress through this. But first, use your stories, because you can increase your organic reach, you can increase your engagement. This is what a story looks like over here. So I have a post that I put out. So this is a post from my newsfeed that I shared to my story. If you've never used stories before, I'm sorry. It's a lot coming at you right now. So I'm sharing it to my story. So it'd be like a post down here that I decided to click to send to my story, which is up here. And see that plus sign where I can shoot over to my story in there. Good. So I shared a post from my news feed in here, wall, or whatever you want to call it, to my story. And then I use some different features that Instagram gives you inside of story to make it more indexable. So hashtags, we talked about this before, 30 hashtags, use the format, adapt seasonally. So the formula is something I'm touching on a little bit right now. You can actually see it in some of my materials off of my website, empoweredsocialmediaco.com. You can look at the blog. It's going to give you the formula for hashtags, how to figure it out, your 30 hashtags, because hashtags have different popularity levels. If you don't do that, go to my website and see it. There'll be another video coming out as well that's going to explain how to use the hashtag formula. So it's our other organic growth strategy. Call to action, so CTA, they work. If you had asked me a year ago if I should use CTAs, I would have said no, don't, because it's really salesy. But I actually see, this is on Instagram specifically, it improved results when you use CTAs. So this could be share a fundraiser, invite people to like a fundraiser, or donate in the link in bio in here. I'm also saying to use multiple CTAs. So one CTA may not fit, right? Someone may not donate, but they could also share. So that might fit for them. But I know that whenever I say, save this for reason A, or save this post for reason B, that it increases the number of shares on that post. So use your CTAs. I like to break them up with emojis too, because it makes it, again, a little bit easier to read and separates it. 4-foot rule, the close-up. We love the close-up because it's more intimate of experience. It's more identifiable. It's easier to connect with. And so again, we started off the presentation talking about connecting, and this is where we move back into it. Well, we want to use that. We want to connect with our audience. And if I'm super far away in the distance, you can barely see me, it's hard for you to connect with me. It's hard for you to actually, you might even scroll past because you don't realize I'm in the photo right now. But when I'm in it, I'm in that 4-foot range, I'm close, then you can connect better with it. And you can see that here. So brand cycles. So this is, we've passed the beginner, as you can tell, and we've moved to the intermediate, and it kind of gets a little bit in the advanced as well. So if you feel like, whoosh, whoosh, let's go right over, that's okay. You got the video, you can watch it again in the future. You can implement, you can try things out, and then you can also contact me for individual support. All right, so what are brand cycles? So brand cycles are periods of selling. Most brands do not sell all the time, because if you sell all the time on social media, you fail, because people think that you're salesy. They can't connect with you if all you're doing is selling. So you lose your audience, you lose your engagement, you lose your following by doing that. So we have brand cycles. So maybe a brand does 4 times a year, 5 times a year, not much more than that they're selling. So if they're not selling, they're working at different parts of the funnel. So brand cycles are funnels. So we have our awareness at the very top. This is people who are aware of us, right? A bigger portion of the funnel or pie. Then you have engagement, consideration. So there's a number of people who've seen us, but there's a smaller number of people who've actually engaged with our content, right? Have considered us to be in their perceptual set. If you don't know what that is, it's worth Google. And then we have conversion and selling. So even smaller percent of the people who are aware of us have engaged with us and then purchased our product. So that's the brand selling cycle. So how did that work on Instagram? Let's talk about it. All right, so awareness is 40 to 50% of your content falls under awareness, where pretty much a majority of your content, where you're trying to reach people, you're trying to, you could be engaging people as well, but you're not selling in content. You're making them aware of something, your brand. So what are the tools necessary to use for awareness? So awareness, we have location. So if you use location, all of your posts should have location on it. If you're doing story, location in it is going to help you reach more people. There's some people who follow Franklin County, Massachusetts, specifically. So if you tag them in your location, you could be featured in Franklin County, Massachusetts, and you can be seen by someone who isn't currently a follower of yours. You have hashtags. People follow specific hashtags. So some have hundreds of followers of hashtags, some have thousands of followers, some have millions of followers of specific hashtags. So they follow a hashtag, they don't follow you, they could see your content. Mention. So it's tucked right behind here. What's the mention? But it's a link back to our bio. So you'd use the @ symbol and you would select your name. So for GCC, we selected @GCC and then hit it behind this little sticker that says, check this out. So if someone clicks on it, then it'll pop up an option for them to click and look at the bio. So they can see the link in the bio. And then we have logo that's in here as well. So again, with our branding. Consideration is 30 to 40% of the content. So as you can tell, even like a higher percentage, so maybe 80 to 90% of your content, and sometimes if you're not in a selling cycle, 100% of your content is going to be in that awareness / consideration or engagement. So we have polls, asking people specific questions about things, and they can say yes or no to a poll, what they think, if they like red or blue better, what color they like, or if they market on Facebook or market on Instagram. So you can put out polls, and you can do really unique things in polls because you can see the data of people who answer polls, and then you can actually message them individually after that. So you have questions, so you can ask them a specific question that's open-ended for them to answer. You can do shout outs to other brands that you've worked with, you've tagged in the past. You can use different templates too in here. So they have story templates that you can use to make it really easier to produce content. And then you have quizzes. So you can have a quiz to find out what people think. And then you can also use a countdown. And that is when we get into conversions. And so 10 to 30% when you're in the selling cycle, the heavy selling cycle, then yes, your content is going to be higher, 30%, maybe even a little bit more than 30%. But usually, if you're not in a selling cycle, it's very low. And they're going to be different call to actions that you're using in conversions, smaller call to actions, not a purchase, but trying to get somebody on your email list or something like that. So we have polls. That's here, yes, or send me the guide to here. If someone clicked this, send me the guide, which they did, I would individually message each one of those people with the link to the guide. We have donations, so if there's a business, a nonprofit that we're trying to support, we can put that in there. Questions, again, but more geared towards the selling. So maybe it's an objection that someone has. Or what's the hardest for you when it comes to social media marketing? And then you could retarget them with a specific selling point off of that. And then you have your link in bio. So moving on to timing now. So what are the timing? So the best time to post is between 8 p.m. and midnight. So I just want to say this out really quickly. The things I'm giving you today are guidelines. These are things that I've looked through research, and I do a lot of research. My business does a lot of social media research. We do a lot of testing as well inside of our brands. But with all this information you're given, every brand has nuances to it. So 80% of the things might work for you, but 20% doesn't work for you. Doesn't mean don't use it. It means that you learn from it and you're testing along the way. So if right now you're kind of just haphazardly posting because you have 15 minutes in between things, then you would want to use a scheduling tool like Creator Studio, which I'll show you quickly, to post things. And you'd want to post it between 8 p.m. and midnight. So this isn't like you staying up to midnight trying to post your content. This is you using a scheduling tool to be able to do that. You want to give yourself between 8-12 hours when you're putting out multiple posts in the same day. So I do see an impact when you put back-to-back posts out there. Instagram says that it doesn't make an impact based off of business posts versus non-business posts. It says that the algorithm works itself out, but I think that there's typically a, I don't know, negative association towards businesses, but if a business is overposting, then I think there's definitely going to be some people who drop off of seeing content because it's popping up too often. in the newsfeed, it's probably coming out as annoying for them. So, but if you are, you do have to post multiple times in a day, 8 to 12 hours between posts to give it some time. Optimally, for the brands that I'm working with, it's 1 to 2 posts per day. I've had 3 posts per day without, and sometimes 4 posts per day without it affecting dramatically results, but I do see that when I post more, the individual reach of each one of the ones during the day actually drops a little bit. Another aside, I want to say our caveat is that yes, is it ideal to post 1 to 2 per day? Yeah, it is, if you have the quality content to be able to do that. If 1 to 2 posts per day is really like you just searching for stuff to post about, that's really not quality content, it's just sharing things that really doesn't have to do with your audience, then you wouldn't do it. You're looking at how often can I post high quality content? And you know some of this, the quality of your content, by seeing some of those results, seeing the reach. If 1 post has 120 reach and then 2 other posts have 50 reach, then you know that the type of content that you put in that 120 reach post is going to be the content that you want to use more often. And can you produce more of that content more often? That's for you to know. All right, so this is the usual place for the Q&A, but we're going to go over and look at Facebook. So I'm just going to switch screens for a second. Good. We're going live to Facebook because I do want to show you a couple things that I think are important for entrepreneurs. One of those is understanding how you connect your Instagram to your Facebook. You're like, why are we on Facebook, Jamie? This is Instagram focused. So I'm going to show you why. So we go into settings, and then we go to Instagram. Scroll down. So again, I went to my page first, settings top right hand corner. Scroll down to Instagram. And then over here is going to be the connection. If it's not, so I could disconnect it right now, but if it's not connected right now, there's going to be a connect option where you're going to connect to Instagram. And then all you have to do is log in like you would normally over desktop. And if you haven't logged in before to Instagram over desktop, you just need your login credentials, just like you would for mobile. So that's how you get connected. And you want it connected because you want to be able to use Creator Studio, which is really important for scheduling because it's a free app inside of Facebook. So sometimes it's up here in the top tab that you're going to be able to see Creator Studio. Sometimes you have to click the more, then you got to click Publishing Tools, then you got to click Creator Studio. Great. So if you have the pages connected already, then this is going to be pretty seamless. But if you don't have your page connected to your Instagram account, then it's not going to allow you to post to it. So you had to go that step we just showed you first before you get here. So this is for Facebook and Instagram. So you can create content, you can create a post, add story, upload a video, multiple video, go live, post video across pages if you want to for Facebook, but you can schedule it out. So you click this. Right now I'm in Empowered Social Media, so it's going to work seamlessly. And then I would do it just like I was other places. I like creating in here better, although I like creating in a Word document best. So I have some more white space and I'm not distracted, but this, you know, this is scrolling over here, but this is less distracting for me than trying to do things directly in a newsfeed. I'm gonna click out of that because we're looking at Instagram. So Instagram, I'm going here, I'm gonna go create a post, and then I get the choice if I'm doing Instagram feed or IGTV. I'm gonna go Instagram feed. So I'm gonna pick the business because I have multiple businesses that I work with. Copywriting goes here, up here. I have my selection of emojis to use from down here, heart, I love emojis. And then, you know, I'd have a little break between my content and my hashtags. So I put my hashtag in, so like Instagram, and you see it's gonna auto-populate. Some things to help me out. Insta More Instagram tips. So Instagram tips for business with 2 P's. Interesting. Tips and tricks. So you have these different hashtags, and it helps us out in sorting it. It's going to let us know how many we have left of the 30. If you wanted to mention something in here, I wanted to mention myself, Jamie the coach, hit that. It's going to auto-populate. If you want to add the location, let's say Greenfield, Massachusetts. Good, I can click that. Excellent. And then I can add my content. I can open it up from a file, grab whatever's here, drop it in. Great. If I wanted to share it, and I do not recommend this, over to Facebook, I'd click here, but Facebook and Instagram, the platforms are so different that it may be fine on Instagram what you're posting because you're setting it up accurately, but when it goes over to Facebook, it's going to do really poorly because you're not used to 30 hashtags when you're doing something on Facebook. So then we have the publish, but there's an arrow down, which is great. The schedule button. So I click that, I can pick the day, and I want to schedule it out for tomorrow. Jamie said between 8 and midnight. I'm going to go 9 p.m. Sounds like a good time, and hit schedule. All right. So this has been a walkthrough. This has been some Instagram. I've showed you some actual live. And I can show you just a little bit more really quickly. Some live stuff with Instagram. You can see if you're logging in on the desktop, how Instagram works a little bit. If I'm going to my profile, this is where I'd make all my edits to all my thing inside of Instagram. Here, I'd be able to see my grid over here. And there's some other things as well that we'll explore in a later time. And then I wanted to look at stories, last one. If you're not familiar with stories, you click on here for the business, then open you up. And you'll be able to see a story, and it's going to run through all these different stories. All right, that is it. Thank you for joining me on Empowered Social Media, learning about Instagram today. Like my content, follow me, and I will see you next time. Bye.